Hey, ladies and gents, we are doing the review on the Spitfire 5 DB605. This is the German Tier 6 premium plane, and this is my favorite premium plane in the game by, I don't know, it's by a whole bunch. I love this aircraft. This is historically in 1942, a Spitfire 5 was crashed. The Germans recovered it in an attempt to, they did some testing. It had the Merlin engine in it, of course. They did some testing on it. And then they tried to, at that time, shoehorn the Daimler-Benz 601 engine into it. They found out they couldn't fit it into the airframe of the Spitfire 5. A new engine, the 605, Daimler-Benz 605, hence the name Spitfire DB605, was in production at the time, which did fit. So they shoehorned that into the Spitfire 5 frame, airframe, added a BF-109 propeller and cowling, and they ended up with this aircraft. What's interesting about this aircraft, with the DB605, this aircraft actually performed better than with this Daimler-Benz engine than it did with the Merlin. So you had much better altitude performance. The speed-wise, it was equivalent to about anything above 3,000 feet. It was equivalent to the BF-109. Below that, the BF-109 was still a little bit faster. But this added, I think, close to 4,000 or 5,000 feet to its altitude with using the Daimler-Benz engine. So yeah, it was quite a mix of German engineering and British engineering to come up with this thing. And it actually outperformed the Spitfire 5 Merlin at the time, or the Merlin-powered Spitfire 5. It was actually a better aircraft with the DB605 engine in it. It was tested extensively. Eventually, it was destroyed when the factory that it was at, or the testing run it was at, was bombed, and then that was the end of this aircraft, which was unfortunate. I mean, it would have been interesting to see if this would ever have gone anywhere. Probably not, but it's always one of those fun things to think about. So what do we have in game? Well, the DB605, and I'm going to actually bring this up with the comparison here, is identical to the Spitfires in game, except when you look at it, same maneuverability, airspeed is almost identical, gun armament, survivability, but here's the big difference: it's the altitude performance between the two of them. Almost 2,000 feet difference, and that is huge. This aircraft makes this aircraft in a lot of ways better than the actual Spitfire that's in game. It allows you to operate up around the well above 6,000 feet easily. Gives you advantage over other aircraft like the Zeros, who are for the most part more maneuverable just by a little bit. But this actually the Spitfire actually has speed and altitude performance far in excess of any of the Japanese at this tier. So yeah, it's really hard not to like this plane. I mean, it has such a great combination of maneuverability, speed, altitude performance. These the four 7.69s, the 220s, great combination of guns, and you'll see in the game what I'm talking about. The good boost. It just fits, right? I mean, it's such a great aircraft at what it does, which is shred everything it runs into. I usually run lightweight airframe, control surface adjustment, really get that maneuverability up there. And this, since the guns are kind of spread out, I usually run an improved reflector sight. Now my pilot skills, I run the aerodynamics expert and the acrobatics expert. So I'm getting all the maneuverability I can get out of this aircraft. And you'll notice in game what I'm talking about. There isn't too many things that I run into that I just can't simply turn all day long on them. And with that combination of 220s and the four 7.62s, 7.69s, I'm sorry, 7.69s, there's just not a lot of, you can gun down GAs, multi-rolls, heavies, whatever, with that great combination of firepower that it has. And the game I had, if you guys want to be curious about the money, it was about 11 combat points was 11.5, 175k in silver, 3,342 XP, and this was just a plain. This wasn't a double or any of that kind of stuff. So yeah, it did everything that you could want for an airplane. 175,000. That's some really nice money at tier 6. So I'll be bringing up the gameplay for you guys. I can't tell you how much. I can't give any more thumbs up on this aircraft. You will not be disappointed with this aircraft. This is why it was one of the top 5 solid premium aircraft. And if you're looking for a trainer, by all means, go look at this aircraft. So I'll be bringing up the gameplay right about now. All right, we are back with the actual gameplay for this Spitfire DB. And like I said in the garage, there's just not a lot of things that this thing can't do. The Spitfire 5 with this engine in it, this German engine, it has a much better altitude performance than the other Spitfires. And then you add in the fact of its maneuverability, and then those 220s with those 4 machine guns. It just has the right mix of just about everything. In that video where I did about the 5 solid lines, Spitfires being easily one of my favorites, if not my favorite line of light fighters. They do everything so well. They're obviously not the best at turning. The Japanese will out-turn them. But everything, just about everything else, they have really no equal. They have the speed, they have the maneuverability, they have the altitude performance, and this amazing mix of guns. With the 4 machine guns and the 2 cannons, you can just melt targets left and right, and you're not having to worry about ever having to get outmaneuvered by most aircraft. We're talking 99% of the aircraft in the game are not going to be able to keep up with this thing in the turn. So back to the game. We're on the command center, and we are trying to take the command center. We just need one more aircraft to be knocked out, and we should be able to turn this thing blue. We got an F4U1 coming in, so I'm going to drop on him. Now F4s are a dangerous plane with them 420s and their altitude performance and speed. They can be a danger, but this aircraft is one of those aircraft that can keep up most of the times with the F4. If I ever hit him, I actually lose. I'm not sure why I wasn't boosting there, but anyway, back to the game. Most of the time, if I would have been boosting, I'd have been right on his tail all the way through that climb. But yeah, just the sheer power of this plane. And the great thing about it is, and I love Japanese planes. I love the turn and burn game. But with the module damages and the fire, you just don't get that with the Spitfires like you do with the Japanese. By now with the AA and stuff, and getting shot by some others, I've been on fire at least twice. Probably had my engine blown to shit. You name it. The Spits, you just don't get that. And and if you're looking for a German fighter to train crews with, I can't think of a better fighter than this. It has no downfalls compared to the other Spits. It's exactly the same in every way except for just a better altitude performance. And in this, I don't actually leave this command center. They just keep coming to me, and it's just a literal turkey shoot. Pounce on them, wait for them to turn away from you, and just shoot down planes, plane after plane after plane after plane, over and over and over again. And you'll watch me here. I'm keeping up with the BF-110E up here into a little over 3,000 feet. Not even worried about stalling out. Get pulled in on by a heavy fighter. Yeah, and you know what? I'm gonna turn around and see if I can try to catch him. He's been bothering me for quite a while. And the 20s on here do heat up a little bit, fairly quickly, just like any other 20s in the game. But those machine guns definitely do their job when you're waiting for that cannons to cool down. And of course, it's just more of a tap thing. Just got to work on the tap. And you'll see me here. Most of the time, I'm just spraying and praying a lot of times right here. And here's a Spitfire 5. I'm going to be with him the whole way through, all on his tail. He can't get away. There's nothing he can do. Back around. I'm dropping speed here so he doesn't turn inside me. Heavy fighters, not a problem. Bombers, not a problem with this thing. It just, of course, with the low HP, a lot of those targets are hard to take on because you do have such low HP. But for the most part, you can, easily take on a bomber formation if you work it well. And if you have the HP, if obviously you're going in half health, you're going to have a little bit of a problem. But ground attack planes, there isn't really anything this thing can't take on, even to a certain degree the Japanese, especially because you do have the altitude advantage. You get to set the terms with speed and altitude over the Japanese. I mean, yeah, you might not quite be able to outmaneuver them. I mean, you're close. Don't get me wrong, you're really close. Depending on how the aircraft is set up, you're very close to being able to stay with them. But you don't have to. That's the great thing about the Spitfire. You do not have to play the maneuvering game with those aircraft. You can just simply play it with speed and altitude performance. So we've kept the command. I'm glad we have some human players on here that get this part of the deal about holding the command center. If you haven't been watching down here, the bombers, for the most part, have taken, I believe, one of the caps just by themselves, just by holding this command center, and let them doing their work. And not only that, it draws off bots, human players, to try to take out the bombers, which relieves a lot of stress on this cap for us. Back in on the BF-109, and I like, I'm a big fan of the BF-109s, but literally when it comes to the light fighter scene, unless you have the altitude, there is not a whole lot that you can not do with this aircraft. Drop in on the N1. Still a great tier 6, but it's still not a Spitfire. And I like the Airacobra, the N1. It's a fun aircraft. It's got that big 37 on it, but it just does not have the maneuverability or the altitude and speed performance that this aircraft does. So yeah, you can tell I'm kind of a Spit fanboy. I always have been. I love the Spitfires. They are so much fun, and just every tier, all the way up to the tier 8, they are so good. And you start getting them at 5, 6, 7, and 8. So you get 4 of them. So great game in the Spitfire. And if you're going to look for an aircraft, a tier 6 aircraft that you're looking to buy, I cannot say enough about this Spitfire as being probably the best tier 6 premium plane in game. I mean, some people probably argue with me, but hey, you know what? You can't go wrong with a Spitfire. And if you're looking for a trainer, this would be the way to go.
Somewhere new